Hey yo, it's HWR. Yep, Heather here, the American Unicat. And obviously I've got my friend over there. Yes, you there, Kiki. Oh, hello there. Oh, hi there, Kiki. What have you got for me? Well, Heather, I've seen so many nostalgic things in footwear and that. Shoes, boots, slippers. What you're saying is, don't you think there's something about shoes? Well, that's the most I could think of. People which are shoes. People which are shoes. Need a tape for that. I'm gonna get myself a shoe people box. Yeet! They've got what I asked for. This is for shoe people. An awful lot of letter. And it's about time we react to it. About time we react to it. And seriously. This contains my two favorite shoe people on there. Oh. Very nice. That brown one looked pretty, devastated. Maybe a litter about? Oh, speaking of litter, how about I actually get the tape and just have it for all to see. And I think I might just get the tape myself. Ladies and gentlemen, we have got an exciting show for you today because during our super theater, I'm going to be listening to and taking a look at the shoe people. An awful lot of litter. What are your thoughts on that? Good? Neutral. Are you kidding? Yes. So you're the divas, ma'am? Alright then. Let's put this sucker in. Heather, can you start the tape? Will do, Kiki.
Shoe people.
Thank you. Let me present to you one of my favorite shoe people stories. And this one is an awful lot of litter. I enjoy the song. Woo-hoo. I love it.
PC Boot had always been proud that Shoetown was not only a quiet place, but also a clean place.
How clean?
So when news reached him that there was a litter bug about, he sprang into action. Or at least ambled into action.
Ambled? Oh, I never knew I ambled.
PC Boot stood outside Shoe Street Police Station, consulting his notebook. He had a worried frown on his face.
What is it?
Sunday, 2:30 p.m., Shoe Street. Sweet paper found on pavement.
What?
He read aloud. Turning the page, he read. Monday, 8:15 a.m., Shoe Street. Old bus ticket found in road. The next page was even more alarming.
What was it?
Tuesday, 4:45 p.m., Shoe Street. Sweet paper found on pavement. Old postage stamp discovered in gutter. Milk bottle top arrested in road. PC Boot shuddered. The Shoetown litter bug was running riot.
My gosh!
Just then, Sergeant Major came along the street.
What kind of...
Good morning, PC Boot.
He boomed in his usual loud voice.
Everything tip-top.
What kind of TikTok?
PC Boot shook his head sadly. Not at all, Sergeant Major, he said. Quite the opposite.
Alright, the next page.
Sergeant Major raised his eyebrows.
It's an epidemic,
Continued PC Boot.
Epidemic, eh?
Said Sergeant Major.
Riots in the tea shop? Singing in the library?
What kind of library?
worse.
Said PC Boot.
Worse?
Said Sergeant Major.
We have a litter bug in Shoetown.
Said PC Boot.
Surely not.
Said Sergeant Major, trying to cheer up his friend.
You keep the cleanest town of a Sycamore reserve.
At that very moment, the wind had blown a chocolate bar wrapper straight into Sergeant Major's face.
What the?
He pulled it off, screwed it up, and put it in his pocket.
PC Boot,
Said Sergeant Major when he'd recovered.
What?
the army is at your command. Just say the word.
If only it worked for
PC Boot revived at this kind offer.
Thank you, Sergeant Major,
He said.
It's good to know that in times of crisis, I can rely on a man of action.
What kind of man of action?
The news was not slow in passing round Shoetown. Wellington heard it from Charlie when he was filling up his friend's trick well with water from his pool.
They say there's an outbreak of literacy in Shoetown.
Charlie told him.
Litter! Everywhere!
Wellington, careful to spill as much water over himself as possible, shook his head in disbelief.
Who could it be?
He asked.
I don't know.
Nobody we know, surely.
Said Charlie.
It's not me.
Said Wellington.
At least, I don't think it is. Nor me.
Said Charlie.
And Margaret's far too tidy. And Trampy hates litter.
And what?
Sergeant Major?
Suggested Wellington.
What? Oh, spick and span?
Said Charlie.
Certainly not. He'd be the last person to drop litter. That only leaves PC Boot.
Said Wellington
What?
thoughtfully.
What a culprit.
Charlie and Wellington pondered this possibility for a moment or two.
Do you suppose he could be a secret sweetie eating, chocolate chomping, letter posting, bus riding PC?
Asked Wellington.
No,
Said Charlie.
he was the one who spotted it first. Who then?
Asked Wellington.
No. Get stuck in my
The
head.
very same question was puzzling Margot. Indeed, she was thinking about it when Sergeant Major turned up for his invitation to tea.
I love him.
It's an outrage.
Said Sergeant
Here comes
Major.
Mr.
A
Out.
sheet of newspaper was reported wrapped round a lamppost this
Here
morning.
comes Mr. Outrage. Here comes Mr. Scare.
Where is it all coming from? Asked Margot, handing Sergeant Major one of his favourite homemade biscuits.
Well, indeed.
Asked Sergeant Major.
But
He said, pausing dramatically.
I have a plan.
What kind of a plan?
A plan? Oh, how clever,
Oh, he's
said
smart.
Margot. Sergeant Major glowed with quiet pride.
It's only a small plan.
What
He
kind
said, modestly.
of...
But will it catch the little out?
Dunno.
Asked Margot. Sergeant Major looked at her with steely eyes.
Have no fear, Margot,
He said bravely.
We
shall never surrender!
Neatly dusting the biscuit crumbs into his hand, Sergeant Major rose to go. Must you leave already? Asked Margot. I thought you might tell me about your brilliant plan.
What?
Secrecy, Margot.
He whispered.
The element of surprise. Careless talk costs a litter, you know.
You really shocked us, didn't you?
Very early next morning in Tumbledown House, Trampy was just getting up to watch the sunrise when something curious caught his eye. He looked out of the window and pinched himself to make sure he wasn't still asleep. He wasn't.
I'll do it if I can.
When the music stops,
All right, kitties.
turn your cassette
Time to
over.
sing over. Do do. Hey, hey, hey! Come on, sing along, you fellas. 2, a 1, 2, 3. If you want between you and the ground, whether you want to dance or simply run around, some friends down there will take you everywhere. Give it up the top. Shoo, 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 people. Shoo, 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 people. Shoo, 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 people. Meow, 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 meow. That's much better, kiddies. Well, I think Sergeant Major actually shocked me. Careless talk costs little, you know. Oh, sorry about that. Oh, is that you turning the cassette over? Yes, of course it is. But, will you play? All right, here goes. Oh, there you are.
Peering out into the garden in the dim morning light, Trampy thought he could see Sergeant Major. This was not unusual, but what was strange was that he was standing in the middle of a bush, and his face was all black. "Perhaps Sergeant Major's poorly," said Trampy, feeling sorry for his friend. "I'd better go out and see if there's anything I can do to help."
Okay.
Putting on his warm scarf, he went downstairs and out of the front door. Sure enough, when he drew closer, Trampy could see that Sergeant Major was indeed stood inside a large bush.
Mission
He
possible.
was peering intently through some binoculars, his gaze sweeping up and down Shoe Street. "Good morning, Sergeant Major," said Trampy cheerily.
Good.
You got
Sergeant
shot.
Major let out a yelp of surprise. The binoculars flew up in the air, and then both Sergeant Major and the bush fell over with a thump. "Everything all right?" asked Trampy. Sergeant Major sat up and eyed Trampy with the merest hint of impatience.
You almost spoiled the plan.
He said. Then, realizing he was talking very loudly, he whispered,
It's supposed to be a secret.
Trampy loved secrets. "Come inside and have a cup of tea, and you can tell me all about it," he said. "You must be frozen to the bone standing outside in the garden at this time of the morning." He turned back towards the house. Sergeant Major stood up and marched after Trampy, who watched him curiously.
Camouflage.
Explained Sergeant Major.
And disguised.
As a bush. I know that, right?
"Most impressive," said Trampy. "Does the bush want a cup of tea as well? Or will he wait outside?" Sergeant Major disentangled himself from his bush disguise and followed Trampy into the house.
Oh.
Before long, he was sat warming himself with a hot, strong cup of tea in front of Trampy's fire.
Tea.
"Now tell me all about this secret plan of yours," said Trampy.
But it's top secret.
Said Sergeant Major. "Well, tell me one of the bottom bits that aren't so secret," said Trampy. "I promise I won't tell." Sergeant Major opened the door, looked left and right, then drew his chair up close to Trampy's.
Can't be too careful.
Said Sergeant Major.
The enemy might be listening. Walls have ears, you know.
"They do?" asked Trampy, not understanding a word of what he said.
I'm on dawn patrol,
Said Sergeant Major.
disguised as a bush.
"I noticed," said Trampy. Ignoring him, Sergeant Major went on.
The idea is to blend in with the scenery. And your jungle, I mean garden, was perfect. Nobody could see me.
What nice camouflage.
I saw you from my window, said Trampy.
Well, yes.
Said Sergeant Major.
Nobody could see me except you.
You.
I see, said Trampy, utterly mystified. Perhaps it's the hat, he added helpfully.
What?
Not many bushes wear army hats.
What kind of hats?
Sergeant Major, realising that Trampy would never understand the military mind, rose to leave.
Thank you for the tea,
said Sergeant Major.
Time to go back on patrol.
Trampy waved him off and closed the front door. Sergeant Major had hardly reached the front fence, however, when he let out a cry of horror. There, on the pavement, was a scrap of silver paper. The phantom little lout had struck again. The noise brought PC Boot hot foot from Shoe Street Police Station, blowing his whistle fiercely.
Did you catch him?
He asked, hopefully.
I think it was too loud.
That evening, when PC Boot was following his regular beat around Shoetown, the wind was whistling eerily through the trees. Suddenly, something pounced on him from behind.
Not a cat.
Help!
He cried out, almost swallowing his whistle. It took him a few seconds to realise that there was nobody else there, and his attacker had only been the jokes page and a colour supplement pullout from the Shoetown News. Next morning, bright and early, PC Boot was to be seen nailing a big sign up outside the police station. Margot was passing and stopped to read it. Wanted. Dangerous little out at large. Reward given for information leading to an arrest. Quite soon, a crowd had gathered to read the notice. PC Boot made his way through the throng, clutching his big bag of litter. He passed Trumpy at the back of the crowd and stopped to say hello.
What's that?
Asked Trumpy.
A bag of waste paper.
Replied PC Boot.
Just what I need.
Said Trumpy.
What?
PC Boot looked at him suspiciously.
What exactly do you mean, Trampy?
He asked. Come along with me, said Trampy. I'll show you. Trampy led the way to Tumbledown House and round into the back garden to a shed.
What?
It was full of bags of silver paper, old newspapers, and all sorts of litter. What was more, on top of the bags sat 2 jackdaws.
Jackdaws?
I've been collecting it to raise money for Shoetown School, said Trampy. I let my friends the jackdaws take a few shiny things for their nest. You know how they love anything shiny. PC Boot smiled.
So the mystery is solved,
Beamed PC Boot.
The jackdaws have been dropping 1 or 2 things as they've flown away. They must have left the door open, and the wind has blown some of the newspapers down the road.
PC Boot slapped Trampy heartily on the back.
I'm glad we've sorted it out. You must tell your friends the jackdaws to be more careful. And as for you, Trampy, I suppose the reward is yours. Come along. I'll buy you the best cream tea that tea shop has to
1,
offer.
2, 3. I like that song. Don't you love it, don't you? My favorite bit was when Sergeant Major actually was in the bush. The bush, however, obviously was just actually, fake. It obviously made him see more. Only his head could be visible. And you could see the little whiskers sticking out of SM. Is that the way you call it, Sergeant Major? Yeah. Same. 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 Oh, so you are all bushwhackers. Tell me, what is actually in the book collection. Well, there are 3 others. Just let this tape know you how. Okay
That
then.
is the end of the story. If you would like to collect more stories about the Shoe People, the titles available in this series are Wellington Saves the Day, Trumpy's Rainbow Surprise, and PC Boot Takes Charge.
Oh, who actually done all this? I did. I am the mother of you 5. I like to put this in my collection. Thank you. Whee! My neck, my back, my mustache, and my, heel. Well, I hope you enjoyed it, you lot. It's about time we must actually go off and play with a Perplexus. What kind of Perplexus? This over there. So let's play. Woo! Woo! Hello? Anyone? Hello? Or maybe I could... My neck, my back, my fur, and my horn. Choo-choo.